This is The Bottom Line. The Bottom Line on 938 Live.
The performance of the economy is also likely to feature in Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong's National Day message today. Travis Teo gazes into the crystal balls of some economists.
Singapore's economy expanded less than expected in the second quarter, growing 2.1% from a year ago according to flash estimates. But with June's industrial production data coming in stronger than forecast, some economists expect Prime Minister Lee to revise the GDP figure higher in his National Day message. One of them is regional economist at CIMB Research, Song Seng-Woon.
We think could be revised upwards likely because of a slightly busier activities at the factory levels than what was initially estimated. Or you could just mention the half-year growth numbers, which we think is roughly around 3.5% growth, which is right at the mid-range of the 2 to 4% growth estimate for the year itself. So while there is a little bit of a slippage in terms of growth momentum in the second quarter, overall growth appears to be still on track.
For the second quarter, DBS is forecasting an upward revision to either 2.2% or 2.3% growth, while ANZ is estimating between 2.5% and 3% expansion. Another reason for an upward revision is the strong external demand, says Jeff Ng, economist at Standard Chartered Bank.
Well, I think the domestic contribution to growth is still pretty anemic at the moment. So I think we estimate that about 1+ percentage point that's been contributing to GDP growth by the domestic sector, in contrast to the 2+ percentage point that's by the external sector. So I think overall, if you look at the economic development, I think mainly has been by the external sectors.
Meanwhile, the Prime Minister may use his speech to emphasize the importance of the economic restructuring process after some analysts said this was partially to blame for the disappointing GDP data. Irvin Seah, senior economist at DBS Bank.
So as to bring about more inclusive growth, higher productivity, and more importantly, the increase in real medium income, which is a hard target which the Economic Strategy Committee has put forth in terms of raising the real medium income by 30% over a period of 10 years.
Jeff Ng of Standard Chartered Bank gives an assessment of the ongoing restructuring process.
Well, I think it's going through quite well, actually. So I will rate it about 7 out of 10. I think what we've seen so far is a lot of incentives and initiatives done by the government to improve on productivity. So I think that has actually helped many of the small and medium enterprises as well. Overall, the results of restructuring, we have not seen a broad result of the restructuring process yet. So I think that's likely to continue.
For the full year forecast, analysts have mixed views on whether the PM will sharpen that figure. CIMB Song Seng-Woon doesn't think so, as external factors such as weakness in Europe and the Ebola virus could act as a drag on growth in the second half of the year. But Irvin Seah of DBS Bank expects a narrowing in the forecast on the back of a gradual US recovery and stable growth in China.
The current forecast is for an expansion of 2 to 4%. I think there could be a narrowing of the forecast range to 2.5 to 3.5% for the full year. That is the practice by the officials. Typically, when they start the year, they will put out a forecast of a 2 percentage point range. And then by August, they will narrow it down to a 1 percentage point range. And subsequently, by November, they will bring it down lower to just a 0.5 percentage point range.
PM Lee's National Day message will broadcast on 938 Live at 7:35 p.m. today.